The observation deck of the Talon's Pride hummed with the barely contained energy of youth. Cub Sorek pressed his clawed hands against the reinforced viewport, his amber eyes wide as he watched the human vessel drift closer. It was smaller than their warship, scarred with burns from what must have been a dozen previous engagements, yet it moved with deliberate calm through the void. "She doesn't run," Sorek whispered, his tail twitching with confusion. Behind him, the pack leader growled low. "Humans never run when cornered. They fight until their last breath. This one will be no different." But Sorek wasn't so sure. He'd studied the human vessel's trajectory for the past rotation. It had avoided 3 opportunities to escape into the nebula field. It had powered down weapons when their targeting arrays locked on. And now, as their boarding party prepared to breach the hull, the human ship simply waited. The breach was swift and brutal, as all Kethran operations were meant to be. Sorek followed behind the warriors, his status as a cub in training granting him the privilege of observation. The human ship's corridors were tight, designed for their smaller frames, and smelled of recycled air and something organic he couldn't quite place. They found her in the cargo bay. Ilara Ven stood alone among crates of medical supplies, her hands raised and empty. She wore a simple flight suit, no armor, no visible weapons. Her dark hair was pulled back from a face that showed exhaustion but not fear. When she spoke, her words came through the translator in a voice that was steady and clear. "I'm not armed. I'm not resisting. I have something you need to see." The pack leader's plasma rifle hummed, ready to reduce her to ash. "Humans lie. Humans trick. We know you're kind." "Then you know we're stubborn," Ilara said, and something that might have been a smile touched her lips. "So let me be stubborn about this. 5 minutes. That's all I ask." Sorek watched as the pack leader's claws tightened on the weapon. By all rights, the humans should be dead already. Their species had been at war for 6 cycles. The Kethran Collective had lost 2 colony worlds to human expansion. Blood debts demanded blood payment. But something in the human stance made the pack leader pause. Perhaps it was the absence of the fear scent that usually accompanied prey. Perhaps it was the way her eyes met his without challenge or submission, merely ... persistence. 2 minutes, he snarled. "Speak quickly, human." Ilara Ven moved slowly, deliberately, to one of the crates. She keyed in a code, and the container hissed open. Inside, suspended in cryostasis fields, were dozens of small forms. Sorek's breath caught. They were Kethran cubs. Newborns, by the look of them, their fur still soft and eyes barely opened. Medical readouts flickered above each stasis field stable, healthy, alive. "The colony world of Therax 7, Ilara said quietly. "When your evacuation ships were destroyed, these cubs were left behind. I found them in a bunker beneath the medical center. They were dying." The pack leader's rifle lowered slightly. "You save them?" "I'm a medic," Ilara replied, as if that explained everything. "I couldn't leave them. The war, the politics, the hatred, none of that matters when you're looking at children who need help. So I loaded them onto my ship, stabilized them, and I've been trying to find a way to return them to you ever since." Sorek stepped forward before he could stop himself. "But we've been hunting human vessels. You could have been killed a dozen times over." "I know," Ilara said, and now her voice carried a weight of exhaustion that spoke of sleepless cycles and constant fear. "But what was I supposed to do? Let them die because I was afraid? That's not who we are. That's not who I am." The pack leader circled the crates slowly, his tactical mind warring with something deeper, something more primal. "This could be a trick. A way to plant explosives, biological weapons. It could be," Ilara acknowledged. "You're welcome to scan everything. I've included full medical records, genetic profiles, everything you need to verify their identity and health. I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to save your children." Sorek moved to one of the crates and activated the scanner built into his training harness. The readings were genuine. No explosives, no pathogens, no tricks. Just 23 Kethran cubs, sleeping peacefully in their fields, unaware of the miracle that had preserved their lives. "Why?" The word burst from Sorek before he could contain it. "Why would you do this? We've killed your people. We've destroyed your colonies. We're enemies." Ilara looked at him then, really looked at him, and Sorek saw something in her eyes that he'd never expected to find in a human. Understanding. "Because someday," she said softly, "this war will end. And when it does, I want to be able to look at myself and know that I chose mercy when I could have chosen revenge. I want to believe that we're better than our worst moments. That even in darkness we can choose to be light. The silence that followed was profound. The pack leader's warriors shifted uneasily, their training and instincts screaming one thing while their hearts whispered another. Finally, the pack leader lowered his weapon completely. You will come with us. You will answer to the council. But ... he gestured to the cubs. These will be returned to their families. You have my word. Alara nodded, accepting whatever fate awaited her with the same calm she'd shown from the beginning. As the Kethran warriors moved to secure the cargo bay and transfer the cubs, Sarek found himself standing beside the human. They'll tell stories about this, he said quietly. About the human who refused to strike back. I hope they do, Alara replied. I hope they tell your cubs when they're grown that an enemy saved their lives. Maybe then they'll understand that we don't have to be enemies forever. Weeks later, when Sorek stood before the council and gave his testimony, he used words he'd learned from studying human languages. He called it what the humans might call it, a turning point, a moment of grace. But in his heart, in the language of his people, he had another name for it. The first tender victory. Not one with claws or weapons, but with the simple, stubborn insistence that even enemies could choose compassion. That even in war, humanity, true humanity, the kind that transcended species, could survive. And as the council debated Ilaraven's fate, as warriors and politicians argued about precedent and policy, Sarek looked at the cubs now reunited with their families and knew that something fundamental had shifted. The human had planted a seed, not of weakness, but of possibility. Perhaps, he thought, this was what true strength looked like.